They banned social media, so within 5 days, the people had burnt down the fucking Capitol. That's what happens when you fuck around. You fuck around, you find out, man. How far were the Nepali citizens pushed? The Nepali government's decision to ban 26 major social media platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, X formerly Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, on or around September 4th, 2025, triggered widespread unrest. The ban was justified by officials as a measure to combat misinformation, hate speech, fraud, and the use of fake accounts, following a Supreme Court ruling in August 2025. They required platforms to register with the government for operation in Nepal. This move was seen by many, especially younger generations, as an attempt to suppress dissent amid growing anti-corruption sentiment and economic frustrations, like high youth unemployment and nepotism in politics. Protests erupted almost immediately, led largely by Gen Z activists, young adults, and students, who relied on social media for organizing and voicing grievances. What began as peaceful demonstrations in Kathmandu on September 8th quickly escalated into violence. Protesters clashed with police, who responded with tear gas, water cannons, rubber bullets, batons, and live ammunition. By September 9th, at 1922, at least 19 to 22 people had been killed, mostly protesters, and hundreds injured, with reports of over 400 total casualties, including police. Wait, it just said 19 to 22 people died, and then it just says 400 casualties. I don't think it's using the word casualties right, or shit ton of people fucking died. The unrest spread to cities like Pokhara and Itahari, involving tens of thousands of participants. The push reached its peak on September 9th when protesters breached security barricades, stormed government buildings, and set fire to Nepal's parliament, the federal parliament building in Kathmandu, along with other structures like political party offices and residencies of key leaders, including those of Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli, President Ram Chandra Paudel, and Foreign Minister Arzu Deba Rana. Billowing smoke from the parliament fire symbolized the depth of public fury, with demonstrations also disrupting airport operations using drones and lasers. This violence stemmed from years of built-up resentment against a perceived corrupt political elite, exacerbated by the ban's immediate impact, cutting off communication tools that many Nepalis use for daily life, business, and activism. VPN usage surged by 8,000% as people circumvented the restrictions, highlighting the ban's role as a tipping point. Protests forced Oli's resignation on September 9th, his fourth term as PM since 2008, leading to a political crisis with potential coalition collapse and early elections. In short, citizens were pushed to the brink from peaceful rallies to deadly clashes, arson on national symbols, and toppling the prime minister, resulting in significant loss of life and a leadership vacuum. I mean, it's true, but that goes both ways, right? You can brainwash people in a good way, right? You can brainwash people into being good people. And now that Asman's on permanent leave, like I said, this would probably happen. He announced he's on indefinite leave, which leaves a vacuum almost of, like, this kind of content. So, you know. Maybe now's the time to start the channel and get everything started with these things. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to record it, and I'm just going to talk about it, and we're going to see what happens. Now, see, if they ban the government's use of social media, anyone in government cannot use or view social media, then I think it would have been better received. Yeah, it was apparently just young people. So, like, Gen Z. Mainly people between, like, 18 and 25. Which sounds about right, because they're the kind of people that would definitely do it. But we're also looking into what, like, legal options they had, and whether or not it was acceptable of them to just immediately pull the trigger and fucking burn everything down. But I mean, it goes to show you how fucked Gen Z is if you really put them on the back burner. Like, they literally have nothing to lose. Whereas, like, older people have, like, investments in houses. These people are like, I've been working my ass off for 5 years for fucking nothing. I'm in debt $50,000. Hell, if the government falls, maybe I won't have my debt anymore. Fuck yeah. I bet you that's a huge mentality for them. But anyways. In short, citizens were pushed to the brink. From peaceful rallies to deadly clashes, arson on national symbols and toppling the prime minister, resulting in significant loss of life in the leadership vacuum. What kind of legal recourse did the people of Nepal have? Nepal's legal system under its 2015 constitution provides avenues for challenging government actions, particularly those affecting fundamental rights like freedom of expression, Article 17. Key options included writ petitions to the Supreme Court. Citizens and rights groups could file writs, mandamums, or certiorari to challenge the bans constitutionally. Indeed, multiple writ petitions were submitted to the Supreme Court shortly after the ban, arguing it violated free speech and was an overreach. The court had already ruled on August 17th, upholding the registration requirement for platforms to monitor content, but this didn't preempt challenges to the outright ban. Human Rights Commissions and Internal Appeals, the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, could investigate abuses during protests, such as excessive police force. Internally, groups like Amnesty International or the UN could be petitioned, or the UN did express concerns over the crackdown. Lower courts and administrative challenges. Individuals could seek injunctions in district courts against enforcement or appeal to bodies like the Ministry of Communications or registration waivers. These resources were accessible but often slow, with Supreme Court cases potentially taking months. The government's ban was enacted via executive order, bypassing immediate parliamentary debate, which limited preemptive legal blocks. Did they jump the gun with the burning of Parliament, or were all legal routes exhausted? Legal routes were initiated but not fully exhausted before the violence peaked. Writ petitions challenged the ban were filed promptly, but no rulings had been issued by the time protests turned violent on September 8th and 9th. The Supreme Court's prior August ruling supported registration but didn't explicitly endorse a blanket ban, leaving room for ongoing litigation. However, the protesters arguably jumped the gun in escalating to arson and storming Parliament, as the ban was only days old and peaceful demonstrations were already pressuring the government, leading to its lift on September 9th. The rapid escalation reflected frustration with systematic issues beyond the ban: corruption, economic inequality, and a history of unresponsive governance, rather than a deliberate exhaustion of courts. Some analysts note that while legal paths existed, the immediate loss of communication tools affecting livelihoods and coordination created urgency, pushing direct action. Post-resignation, Ollie announced investigations into the police response and compensation, suggesting some accountability could have come through dialogue or legal probes without violence. Ultimately, the burning of Parliament was a drastic step, not strictly necessary after legal exhaustion, but born from perceived futility in a system where the youth felt marginalized. My opinion, that Prime Minister should be publicly executed as a traitor to the country and a lesson to their entire governmental structure that they are servants, not rulers. Like, I agree with you, but I also disagree with you, Sean. Because I agree that spectacles like that really bring the people together, but I think they deserve, like, they don't deserve, how do you say this, like, death is too good, right? Like, they should be in work camps, they should be working for the rest of their life, they should be, not tortured, but, like, they should spend the rest of their life making up for what they've done. So I agree with you with it's a great spectacle to bring people together, and as like a don't fuck with us, I blame that prime minister for every death caused on both sides of the riot. I could definitely see that, Sean. 100%. And then think about the way that this, in the next, like, year or so, people are going to use this as a precedent to try to burn down governmental institutions. And they're going to point at this incident and say, well, they did it, and it's going to be a whataboutism. What about them? They did it. So we're going to do it too. It's like that's not a good way to think. So it's like, I, in principle, agree that they should be held accountable, and in spectacle, I agree that they should be publicly executed. But I think watching them live out, and like, their life should be broadcast. Like, they should have, like, a permanent cameraman on them with, like, a 24-hour stream that shows how fucked up his life is now. You know? And he can literally be the village idiot that people go to and throw rotten carrots and tomatoes and lettuce and shit at. And you can make it like a tourist destination. But then that's just my creative side coming out of how can we abuse this person without, like, abusing them, right? And make money off of their downfall. But I definitely agree that it's 100% if the government banned that, if just blanket banned social media, just like Trump's just like, executive order, social media, bad, computers, bad, Canada wouldn't go down in history as the only people that have ever burnt down the White House. Yep. I agree that there's no punishment that suits their crime level, watching as his family is robbed of everything and he can't do anything to help them because he will be executed. Might at least start the punishment. Yep. So I can get behind that, Sean. But for me, I wouldn't be able to make the decision. I'd have to have someone else make the decision. It'd have to be like by vote or something like that. I'd be like, both are great options. I don't know which one you guys want. But you guys can pick which one. So I'm like, you know what would be awesome? Is just like a benevolent God ruler who can just like overrule any situation at any time for no reason whatsoever. But you know, the only times he does are when he's like, yeah, no, this is fucked up. Okay, let's just eliminate the process. I'm just gonna kill you. I'm thinking like Boondock Saints here, where they're just like kill because they know they're gonna get off from the legal system, so they're just like, yeah, fuck it, we're just gonna kill you ourselves. And it's like some sort of level of vigilantism, right? And there's the question of how far can people get pushed before that becomes your number one go-to. Would an event like this happen if all social media was banned in the West? A full social media ban in Western democracies, US, EU countries, is unlikely to trigger identical events like parliament burning or governmental toppling, due to stronger institutional safeguards, but it could spark significant unrest. Here's a reason to break down. I want a super superior court judge. She hides in any courtroom, and if justice isn't being served, they legally execute the abuser's right then and there. It's kind of how I want AI to be, Sean. I want AI to be the guy looking over your shoulder, making sure that you're doing it right. And, you know, it's like a strike system. It's like, yeah, you're allowed to make mistakes. And it's like, what's the intent behind the mistake? Mistakes happen, even with AI. So some rulings might be fucked. But hey, if it fixes 98% of the shit, I'm down for it. It's like, you can't do that. It's like, what do you mean I can't do that? It's like, no, you can't do that. Do you want to get arrested? Okay, if you keep doing that, we're going to have to call the police on you, bro. No, you can't do that. Make new laws. Oh, you think laws are important. Oh, you think pieces of paper are important, not understanding. Oh, okay. Taking a bribe isn't a mistake. Deliberately planting evidence isn't a mistake. Exactly, Sean. But missing as, like, I don't know, the prosecution, some sort of detail that evidenced that the evidence was planted is a mistake. So the AI would be like, yeah, but you missed this one thing here. Sorry, you only got 9 out of 10, bro. It's like the teacher sitting in the back of the room, looking over your shoulder for every answer, being like, nope, not that one. Try again. Oh, come on, now you're just being a dick. Get the fuck out of my classroom. It's literally how I imagine it in my head, is we're all kids, and AI is just like the teacher looking over our shoulder. Knowing that we're bullshitting. Agreed, most times, failing to see the clue that proves everything else is planted is a mistake. And sometimes then you look at that mistake and say, was that mistake caused by incompetence? Does this person make this mistake often? And then when you look into it, you find that this person makes the mistakes on purpose, and they're actually collaborating with the culprit in order to not allow this evidence to be seen as planted. And it's like, now you've exposed the entire ring. Or something like that. Like, it was a black person, so they just assumed that they had drugs on them. Right? Something like that. Makes complete sense. And that's why we have multiple people, and that's why we have a jury. But then at the end of the day, the judge can still overwrite a jury's ruling. So that has to be taken into practice as well, right? So, and examining all of those factors at once is just like such a high-level human cognitive thing, because you're going to forget one or you're going to forget the other. You're going to be like, why did I come to this conclusion? Oh, that's because I missed this point. I only got 8 out of 9 points. Wait, there's 11 points? Fuck, I'm never going to get this. And that's how I really feel about it. And I'm like, mistakes are going to happen, but less mistakes are going to happen if it's reasoned to be without forgetful mind like an AI. Even if its teaching is somewhat biased. And you could still have an overview of a human saying it. You know? With another AI overlooking that. You could have like this chain of command. But at the end of the day, nothing is perfect. So you just have to accept what level are you willing to accept of failure, and what kind of mistakes are you willing to, like, let past, right? Versus these are the ones that no matter what, we go out of our way. And it kind of goes back, I was just thinking, tying back to yesterday, with, like, talking about the flood in the cave, and the cave incident with John Scott. About how the whole world comes together to save 12 Boy Scouts stuck in a cave, but no one comes together to fix fucking world hunger. Don't think a judge can overrule the verdict, but I do think they can suspect collusion inside the jury and require a new jury selection and retrial to see if a new related jury will reach the same verdict. There are times when the judge can overturn the jury. I don't know when, Sean, but there are times when the judge can do it. That are not related to anything that's imagining that the jury is like... It's basically like a Okay, you guys are actually stupid. The jury has no idea what the fuck they're doing. I'm overruling them because of this. You guys didn't even understand what this is. You know, kind of thing. Something like that. That's what I imagine. But I could be wrong. That might be a TV misinterpretation of what it actually is. Or that might be Canadian versus American. Right? Jeez. Here's a reasoned breakdown. Legal barriers in the U.S. such a ban would face immediate First Amendment challenges in federal courts, likely struck down quickly. Example similar to TikTok ban attempts. EU nations have GDPR and free speech protections under the European Convention on Human Rights, enabling swift injunctions. Governments couldn't impose bans unilaterally without parliamentary approval or judicial review, reducing the sudden shock factor seen in Nepal. Public response. Protests would occur. Recall the 2011 Sopa Pipa blackouts or 2023 TikTok ban debates. But they'd likely stay non-violent, organized via alternatives like email, forums, or encrypted apps. Gen Z in the West is mobilized effectively, climate strikes, BLM, but with the less economic desperation than in Nepal. VPNs and tech workarounds would mitigate impacts, and media coverage would amplify dissent without needing street action. Political potential for escalation if imposed amid broader crisis during elections or economic downturns. It could fuel riots, as seen in 2021 U.S. Capitol storming or 2011 UK riots, partly coordinated via social media. However, Western police tactics emphasized de-escalation and rule of law is more entrenched, making parliament burning improbable. A fall might mean resignations or impeachments, Watergate, but not literal torching. Key differences. Nepal's fragility. Frequent PM changes, over 13 since 2008. Youth unemployment at 19% and weak institutions amplified the crisis. Western economies rely heavily on social media, influencers, e-commerce, but diversifying infrastructure and civil liberties would buffer shocks. Still, a ban could erode trust, boosting populist movements or cyber activism, potentially leading to policy reversals via voters rather than violence. In essence, while unrest is possible, the scale of Nepal's events, deaths, arson, regime change, is less likely in the West due to robust legal systems and different socio-political dynamics. So it's not likely to happen here. You heard it, guys. Straight from the horse's mouth, it is not likely to happen here.